Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here, and welcome to the Steadfast and Loyal program.
You gotta light 'em up before they burn it down. Better dig deep, put 'em in the ground. Blood on their hands, they're hellbound. Save us all. Ooh, they're gonna burn it down. Save us all before they burn it down.
Well, we are on the backside of the presidential election and the backside of Veterans Day. And first and foremost, I want to say happy Veterans Day. It shouldn't be just a day. It should be every day, every month, all throughout the year that we recognize the men and women who stand on freedom's frontier, on the ramparts that say this will defend. And it's very special. And then, of course, the day before Veterans Day, we recognize the birthday of the United States Marine Corps, this time 249 years. Remember, in 1775, before we even had a country, we had an army. In June of 1775, a Navy in October 1775, and a Marine Corps in 1775. So we have had veterans before we had a nation. And when we think about where we are now, this will defend, the motto of the United States Army, it is important that we realize that we have a nation with laws, with traditions, with values and principles based upon our founding documents to defend. And I think that that's where we are today in the United States of America. Although there are some people that believe that America is on now going crazy and it's going to become let me see what they call it, a dystopian dictatorship. Really? See, I don't think that we can expect President-elect Donald Trump, who has already been president before, so we have a basis to understand. I don't think we can expect him to tell us how much toilet water we can flush, what type of stoves we can have in our home, what type of dishwashers, washers, dryers, what type of car we can drive, what type of food we can eat. To me, that's dystopian. That's dictatorship. So I was going back and looking because I think it's always important to get kind of like a historical perspective on things. And I like to look at numbers because numbers give you an idea about trends. And I think it's so important we look at that because if you go back and look at where we were in starting this lurch to the left, as I call it, by the American people or this nation, back in 2008 with the original identity politics candidate, the original DEI candidate. Yeah, I said it. The original affirmative action candidate, Barack Hussein Obama, who we were told we got to vote for this guy because he's black. We vote for this guy and it's going to eradicate all the sins of this great nation. Never mind, what he writes in his books and what he says. Never mind when he says to someone, I believe we have to, spread the wealth around. Never mind when he says things like, if you own a business, you didn't build that. Never mind when he says, I won, or that Republicans can get on the bus, but they have to get to the back of the bus. Never mind when he says that you have to punish your political opponents, your political enemies. Don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Never mind Operation Fast and Furious. I'm not talking about a movie. I'm talking about something that really happened that resulted in the death of a United States Border Patrol agent. So let's go back and look at 2008 because I want to talk about these numbers because I think it's very interesting because it leads us to what we saw happen in 2024. In 2008, Barack Obama running against John McCain, he got 69.4 million votes. 365 electoral votes. The differential there was 9.5 million between him and John McCain. Got it. 69.4 million. Landslide. Huge. Took him behind the woodshed. 4 years later, Obama runs against Mitt Romney. Drops down a little bit. he goes to 65 million. 332 electoral college votes. But still, he beats Romney by some 5 million votes. Then all of a sudden we go to 2016. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton in 2016 got 65.7 million votes, but they only gave her 232 electoral votes. So, yeah, she won the popular vote because Donald Trump only had 62.9 million votes, but he garnered 306 electoral votes in 2012 to her 232. Then we come back in the anomaly election. That's how I will forever call it. 2020, Joe Biden, a person that really, he wasn't out campaigning. They kind of hid him away. Somehow for Joe Biden, that number that had never been higher for the Democrats of 69.4 million in the great Obama wave, 365 electoral votes in 2008. Joe Biden's number jumps up to 81 million. 81 million. And he gets 306 electoral votes. The same amount of electoral votes that Donald Trump got was 62.9 million in 2012. It's one of those things that make you go, Now, one of the interesting things when you go back and you look at the breakdown of the 2020 presidential electoral map by county, you see that Joe Biden didn't win a large number of the counties across this country. But yet he got 81 million votes. He surpassed Barack Obama by about 12 million more votes. Okay. Now we come to 2024, the election that we just had. Now, Donald Trump in 2020 had 74 million votes. So from 2016, he goes from 62.9 million, incredible jump, 12 million. And you could see it on the map when you look at the breakdown by counties in the 2020 election. A lot of major counties, 74 million. But again, he loses to Joe Biden, who somehow goes from all-time high of the Democrats, all-time favorite guy, their little messiah in 2008, Barack Obama, to 69.4 million, up to 81 million. Okay? Now, Donald Trump, who, like I said, had 74 million in 2020 against Joe Biden, all of a sudden jumps up a little more, another 2 million in 2024, and he has 76 million votes in this past presidential election cycle. Won the popular vote because Kamala Harris had a little over 73 million. So somehow, in 4 years, there's an 8 million vote drop for the Democrat presidential candidate. And there's a 2 million increase for the Republican presidential candidate from 2020 to 2024. Donald Trump wins 312 electoral college votes. And when you look at the map from the 2024, the one that we just had, presidential electoral by county breakdown, you see a massive win and color red. I mean, New Jersey, he barely lost New Jersey, 5 percentage points. Virginia was close, swept all of the battleground states. And that's with 76 million votes and 312 electoral college votes. But yet, in the previous presidential election cycle, Joe Biden has 81 million votes, nowhere near the same amount of counties and less electoral college votes. But what happened in this election cycle, when you look at that map, when you go back and you analyze these numbers, you see a steady increase. I mean, from 62.9 million for Donald Trump in 2012 to 74 million in 2020 to 76 million in 2024. But this precipitous decline for the Democrat support from 2020 to 2024 by 8 million. How does that happen? And especially when you look at the coloring of the map. 48 of the 50 states in the United States of America saw a shift to the right. Now, this is not so much about Republican or Democrat. I think that people really voted in this election cycle based upon their principles and values, based upon, I keep hammering this, the word security, their economic security, their energy security, their national security, their domestic security, their border security, security for their children, educational freedom for their children, foreign policy. All of these things are coming together. The Democrats just went back to the same old well that they went to a couple of years ago in the midterm election cycle, saying, we're going to make this about abortion. Our number one thing is about we want to be able to dismember babies in the womb all the way up until the time of birth and even let them die afterwards, which is the law in Minnesota, which is where Governor Tim Walz, the Democrat vice presidential nominee, was from. That dog didn't hunt. And it was incredible to see that. And now when you look at the response from the left, it is rather delusional. Because instead of them sitting and saying, look, we have an issue, some of them are. The Texas Democrat Party chairman, Gilberto Hinojosa, he resigned. Wednesday after the election, stepped down. And he said all of this focus on, boys and girls' bathrooms and playing girls' sports and, mutilating the bodies of children. He said, that's why we lost. Because in Texas, they lost 12 or 14 border counties. Swept. Why? Because murdering unborn babies in the womb up until the time of birth, dismembering them was not the key issue. The issue was their border security. But yet, they still don't get it, and they still continue to try to demonize, denigrate, disparage, and demean everyone. I mean, this mess about, well, you should divorce your husband. I'm going to divorce my husband if he voted for Trump. Well, I'm canceling Thanksgiving because I'm not going to have people that voted for Trump come over. I'm whacking off my hair. Instead of them coming back and saying, why did we lose? Why did we see such an incredible increase? For Donald Trump, from 2012, 62.9 million to 76 million in 2024. Why did we see that? What happened between 2020 and 2024? Exactly what Kamala Harris said when she was on The View. No, I can't think of anything that I would do differently. The American people could think of some things that they would do differently. And they decided to do something differently. They did not vote for her. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, Steadfast and Lower Program. We'll be right back. Greetings, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. In my career, from the battlefield to Congress, honor and integrity have always been my compass. When it comes to building a precious metals portfolio for my family, I choose United Patriot Coin. Their commitment to honesty and transparency aligns with everything I stand for. They care about our great country and focus on serving patriots from all walks of life. They've teamed up with veterans of the precious metals market to create a new kind of gold dealer designed to serve the needs of a new type of gold buyer. And that's why I know I can trust them when it comes time to buy my gold and silver. If you value honesty and reliability as I do, then join me. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here, Steadfast and Lower Program. Welcome back. Segment number 2. The reaction of the left to this election cycle. I just laid out some numbers for you. Joe Biden, 2020, 81 million. Kamala Harris drops 8 million, 2024. Now, again, the delusion of the left. Somehow Elon Musk aligned, satellites and deleted these votes. How can you delete votes from a previous election? I do find it interesting that all of those states that don't have voter ID requirements, blue states, went for Kamala Harris. Even though, you look at California. Look at all the red that was in California, just along the sliver of the coastline. That's where you saw the blue. The mayor, I think in London Bree of San Francisco, gone. The district attorney, George Gascon in LA County, gone. And it wasn't even close there. The mayor of Oakland, California, recalled. There are some very interesting things that happened this election cycle that I just don't think that the left, as I wrote, they got the memo. Seth Moulton, the congressman from Massachusetts, he came out and he said, we lost because we were focused on all these sideshow antics. We lost because we allowed the group that believes in defunding the police and, putting little boys in women's sports and all of this type of stuff. We lost because of that. Man, did they come after him. Kick him out, Democrat Party. See, that's why I don't think they're not going to change. When Kamala Harris was asked that question by Sunny Hostin on The View, what would you do differently? And she replied, I can't think of anything. I have no regrets. That's what's playing out post-election. They can't think of anything that they would do differently. As a matter of fact, I've read some articles where they said, we didn't go left enough. They didn't get it. We should have forced them. We should have coerced them even harder. We're going to leave the country. Yeah, right. So far, I think Eva Longoria is the only one that has done that. But she already had some homes in Mexico and Spain. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. Let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. And maybe, if all these Democrats, they leave. And these ladies say, we're not going to have sex anymore. Well, then we're not reproducing little leftists. Looks good for the red team. But how are we looking at this? How is the response playing out on some of their media outlets? MSNBC is down 52% viewership. Folks are just like, done with it because they feel that they were lied to. And some of the post-election really delusional commentary. Everybody that didn't vote their way is a racist and a sexist. No matter if you're black, white, Hispanic, and we saw incredible historic black and Hispanic vote trend to Donald Trump. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, old, young, Jew, Christian, Muslim, all y'all, all of us'en. We're just racist and sexist. We didn't want to vote for someone because it was a black woman. Never mind the fact that she couldn't articulate a single, clear, and concise solution to an issue. But I do know that she was born in a middle-class family. I really will not forget that. Kind of like Steve Martin in the movie The Jerk, that was born a poor black child in Mississippi. And on top of that, think about the fact if you had elected this individual to take over our economy, an individual who, and I'm tired of the excuse, she only had 107 days. Well, that's not my problem. That's not the problem in the United States of America. You should have thought about this. All this talk about being a threat to democracy, look what you did. You said that we're going to run Joe Biden again when you knew Vice President Harris and many of the people in the leftist media, you knew he was not capable. He was not up to it. Then all of a sudden on June the 27th, you see that. The world sees that. The entire country sees that in that debate with President Trump. And now you're freaking out and you're scrambling. You could have had an open, democratic primary process. You refused to do so. And then you picked the most unpopular vice president in the most unpopular administration. But she had $1 billion. I mean, I'm sitting there looking at SEC college football, Kamala Harris commercials. I mean, everywhere. Just like here in Texas. We got inundated with commercial ads of Colin Allred, lost by 9 points to Ted Cruz. Colin Allred. He's gone. Done. We said they told us it was going to be a close race. Nowhere near it. But Kamala Harris had $1 billion. Massive war chest that she inherited from the Biden campaign because they could do that by FEC rules. And she went into the debt. How do you have $1 billion and you go into debt? I can tell you how. You didn't go out there and talk to the American people. You told the American people you wouldn't do anything differently. You start out with this Obama line. Obama had hopey changey. You had joy and aspiration. And then you realized it wasn't working. So then you went nasty. And then you realized that wasn't working because I think the pollsters knew it was not going to be close. So when you realized that wasn't working, what did you do? You went to Bruce Springsteen, John Bon Jovi, Katy Perry, Beyonce. You paid Oprah Winfrey $1 million. You paid a billionaire woman $1 million to interview you. That's desperation. And furthermore, that shows me that Oprah Winfrey didn't have a lot of trust, faith, and confidence and commitment to you. She just wanted a paycheck. Oprah Winfrey could have set up and done an interview for you and you wouldn't have had to pay anything. She could have made that an in-kind campaign contribution, something. But you gave her $1 million. And what did that get you? Jumping around on the stage with all of these, I don't know, people don't care about these entertainers, these elites that, again, browbeating them, telling them, don't believe your lying eyes, everything's okay. Joe Biden, garbage, Hitler, Nazi. I mean, how can you sit back and call half of a country, and really maybe even more of that, these disparaging terms? I think you're going to win. If anything, it showed that you knew that you were losing. And so the donors now, the donors on the left are saying, Chuhoy, done, got it, forget it. Don't bother me anymore. We're tapped out. We gave you all of this money and you blew it. So don't come to us and ask us to help you out with your debt. Don't come to us and ask us to help you out with filing lawsuits and try to find more lawfare to try to break the back of the administration of a duly elected president before he even gets in. Now, Colonel, Donald Trump didn't like the previous administration. He, had all kind of legal cases. Well, I got to tell you, when you think about those unsolicited mail-in ballots that Eric Holder talked about in a Time magazine article in April of 2020 that they used, thank God that we learned that lesson. And really and truthfully, when we look at this complete apoplectic meltdown of the left, when we look at the past 3.5, we're going to be 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration, God knows what he's doing. So I kind of think that God said, I'm going to let you get a taste of this. Kind of like what Winston Churchill famously said, you can always trust the American people to eventually do what is right after they have tried everything else. We really stuck our foot into this progressive socialist Marxist morass that began with Barack Hussein Obama in 2008. I mean, we really did lurch left. I mean, we had kind of been dabbling with it. Johnson administration, Woodrow Wilson administration, first progressive presidency. Roosevelt had some socialist tendencies, especially with his economic tax and spend policy, that Keynesian policy. It didn't work. But it went full bore starting in 2008 with Barry Soetoro. who, in the assessment, hadn't heard a lot from him afterwards. He's one of the big losers, maybe the biggest loser, because he's going to lose impact, influence, and relevance. And on top of that, that whole thing about a legacy, that's going to be gone. Economic legacy, energy legacy, foreign policy, national security, all that, it's going to be gone. So I kind of am thankful in retrospect that we learned the lessons of 2020. We learned the lessons that we need to get out and vote early. We learned the lessons that where these mail-in ballots are valid and legal, mainly blue states, that we played by those rules, that we chased the ballot, not so much the vote, that we took their playbook and turned it against them. I'm pretty glad that we did that. I'm pretty glad that we had to experience that. I'm pretty glad that, kind of like what it says in Romans chapter 5, verses 3 through 5, that trials and tribulations produces perseverance, and perseverance, proven character, and proven character, hope. Hope not that it is in man, but in our Lord Christ Jesus. We had to go through these trials and tribulations over the past 4 years to really understand who the progressive socialists left, who they were. And now look what we have. We have the White House, we have the Senate, we have the House of Representatives, we have a 6-3 conservative constitutional majority in the Supreme Court. That presidential electoral map of 2024 clearly shows what the American people want. But now it's about keeping it. Because we cannot afford to go back. We cannot afford to lose this momentum. Because the American people have given a mandate out there. And if that mandate is in any way, shape, or form, like the first 2 years of the previous Trump administration, 45 administration, when all of a sudden Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell stood in the way, there will be hell to pay in 2 years. We'll talk about that in our next segment. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, Steadfast and Loyal. We'll be right back.
Hey folks, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here at Watchtower Firearms. This is the custom design AR-15 that was just made for me. It's got my Steadfast and Loyal logo there. On this side, you can see my signature, my master parachutist wings, of course, American flag. And I just want to tell you that you can't be a great American unless you have a great American weapon. And that's exactly what Watchtower Firearms is building. Great American weapons, all American parts, manufactured right here in the great state of Texas. And oh, by the way, let me see, where is the serial number on this one? TX1836. If you're from Texas, I think you know what that means. God bless you. God bless Watchtower.
Hit, dead center. Yes.
Hey folks, welcome back. Steadfast and Loyal program. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here, segment number 3. We finished talking about the deja vu Republicans because, I mean, we've got an incredible opportunity again. You've got the White House, incredible mandate there. You got the Senate, you got the House, you got a 6-3 conservative majority in the Supreme Court. There are many great things that can be done in restoring constitutional governance. You remember, what Benjamin Franklin said, it's a republic if you can keep it. We got an opportunity to keep this republic. We got an opportunity to restore our national sovereignty and protecting our borders. We got an opportunity to restore that Ronald Reagan maxim of peace through strength. And I think it's so important that Republicans understand that. No more of this circular firing squad. Right now, you see a circular firing squad happening within the Democrat Party. Let them do that. Because normally they have their disagreements, but you never hear about it. You never see it. Now they have a huge civil war going on. Because when you allow leftists in, when you give leftists some power they are not going to give it up very easily. When you pander to that worst side that history has taught us, progressivism, socialism, Marxism, communism, statism, whatever you want to call it, centralized government control, when they get a little taste of power, they're not apt to give it up very easily. So these first 100 days for the Trump administration are going to be critical. Maybe first 130 days, going to be critical. What should they focus on? The economy, energy, the border. Those should be the very first things to get at. And, you know, I think one of the things that the left is concerned about, have you seen some of these Democrat governors and mayors like Brandon Johnson, I think that's his name, the mayor of Chicago? What a socialist nutcase. But anyhow, these governors coming out and saying, you know, Phil Murphy, over my dead body will Donald Trump do anything. Dude, he almost won your state by 5%. You need to be worried because your reelection comes up in 2025. You know, because Virginia and New Jersey have off-cycle gubernatorial elections. So Phil Murphy better just, you know, might want to stop bumping his gums so much. Kind of like in The Wizard of Oz, he might have a house drop on him too. And then you got the big boy, Governor Pritzker, out there in Illinois. You're going to have to come through me. That's a lot of coming through because he's a pretty big, wide, fat boy. But that's okay. Because I think the people in Illinois want something better. I mean, Donald Trump did very well in the black community. Brandon Johnson coming out and saying that if you want to come here and talk about, you know, policing up illegal immigrants, that's going to affect black families. It's already affecting black families, dummy. They're losing jobs. They have less safety and security. You got Venezuelan gangs and other illegal immigrant gangs that are, you know, having turf wars against the black gangs there in Chicago. You're coming out and talking about how we're not going to work with this administration and ICE to deport people. Well, guess what? If you don't want to do that, you're in violation of the Constitution. You're aiding and abetting human trafficking. You're aiding and abetting illegal immigration. You're aiding and abetting a felony offense of people that crossed our border illegally. And you should be charged. So all of these Democrat governors and mayors, they're out there posturing and talking about, you know, starting this thing called governors safeguarding democracy. See, that's what I'm saying. They didn't get the memo. They didn't learn. The Democrats aren't safeguarding democracy. When you're allowing people to come into this country illegally, and you have states, blue states, that don't require voter ID to vote, how is that safeguarding democracy? How is it safeguarding democracy when the Biden-Harris Department of Justice brings a lawsuit against a sovereign state, Virginia, that wants to remove known non-citizens from its voter registration rolls? When you're going out there and telling people we want illegals to vote in the United States of America, how is that safeguarding democracy? They make it easy. I mean, really and truthfully, they make, and that's why Republicans should crush them. The American people said, we're going to crush them. That's what they did in this election cycle. So the American people turned to the Republicans and saying, crush them. We don't care how much they squeal. We don't care how much noise they make. Crush them. Now, I can hear it already. Colonel West is violent. He wants people to get hurt. No. I mean, crush your philosophy of governance. Crush your ideology. Crush your misplaced philanthropic views. That's what Frederick Bastiat called it in his essay, The Law, written back in 1830s, French economist. Maybe the left should spend more time reading the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States of America instead of Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. Because you ain't winning with Saul Alinsky no more. But it's interesting seeing these governors and mayors line up and start talking about, and preening and, out there like a little banty rooster, trying to set themselves up in position for 2028. Gavin Newsom, we need to have an emergency session of our legislature to talk about how we can block and thwart President Trump. Really? Did you just not see what happened to the district attorney in L.A., the mayor of San Francisco? You used to be there in San Francisco, if I recall, right, Gavin? You were the mayor there. You probably would not have survived this election cycle. Just like the mayor of Oakland, right across the bridge. So you might want to get the memo. But again, the thing is that you can't say that you're governor safeguarding democracy, yet you want to harbor people that are here illegally, especially single military age males. How is that helping the safety and security of the American people? And those single military age males include some 25 to 30,000 Chinese single military age males, 425,000 criminal illegal immigrants, which includes some 30,000 murderers and rapists. Is that really what you want the hill that you want to die on? Is that really how you're defining safeguarding democracy? By harboring people that will bring harm to the American people? Yeah, that needs to get crushed. And that's the message that the Republicans need to understand. Put on your big boy and big girl pants and get to the business. That's how we say it down south, business of restoring this constitutional republic and constitutional governance. And right-sizing the federal government to its constitutional enumerated powers, duties, and responsibilities. And these guys over here that are just in this little echo chamber making noise, you got to expose them. I was reading about how now the Democrats want to create a shadow cabinet. A shadow cabinet. Now, all this talk about dystopian dictatorships and everything like that, well, first and foremost, they have already had a shadow government. I mean, Barack Obama, what president does not leave Washington, D.C. after his term is over? What president, buys a house there in Washington, D.C., not too far away from the White House? And he still has that house. He should sell it because he's irrelevant now. But the left has always created this shadow government. Barack Obama was, the guy behind the scenes pulling things for Joe Biden. And he thought he could do the same things for Kamala Harris, even when forced to do so. He thought he was the kingmaker. Go back and look at the speech that he gave. He and Michelle, king and queen of the Democrat Party. Now, they're the court jesters. They don't like it. But nothing they can do about it. But reading about how they want to have a shadow cabinet, they want to create, a shadow leftist agencies. Department of the Interior, the Department of Defense, all of these, they want to have their own shadow cabinet. To do what? Hey, I think that is criminal. I mean, you're talking about undermining a duly elected government. I mean, they keep ranting and raving about January 6th. I mean, January 6th, some people, got a little out of hand. There's no doubt about it. But, let's go and look at Minnesota where Minneapolis, they burned down a police station. Or you look at Portland. I guess that's okay for them. As long as you're on their side, you can burn down government buildings and destroy neighborhoods and everything like that. And, oh, yeah. Everyone's talking about, well, Donald Trump's going to release the January 6th people. Well, Kamala Harris was out there raising bail funds for the folks that burnt down Minneapolis. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Colonel, that's common sense. don't bring out the hypocrisy of the left. But when you talk about having a shadow cabinet to the government that the American people duly elected, isn't that almost treasonous? I mean, isn't that a high crime? I mean, we got to start looking at that. I mean, when you're these governors talking about governors safeguarding democracy, you're not safeguarding democracy. You're giving the rule of law a big middle finger, saying that we're not going to abide by it, especially on this issue of illegal immigration. These are people that came here illegally. And again, Tom Homan, and we'll talk about in the final segment, Tom Homan has said this is about those who pose a domestic security and national security threat to the United States of America. So you develop tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 of people that meet that evaluative criteria. And that's who you start to get out of this country. And you ensure they don't come back. Look at the Border Patrol and ICE. They're just excited to be able to finally do their job. People want to come back to work, but yet the other side wants to create a shadow cabinet. See, that's why Republicans, because 2 years is going to come around real quick. They can't be the deja vu Republicans from Trump 45 administration who thwarted everything he tried to do in those first 2 years. John Thune, don't be a Mitch McConnell Pardue. You better be your own man. You better be a stand-up kind of guy. You better put on your big boy pants. Don't go over there and start chummying up to Chuck Schumer. Crush him. Crush his policies. Crush his... if Chuck Schumer goes to debate and speak on the Senate floor, John Thune should be right there. Anytime a Democrat leader in the House of Representatives or in the Senate stands up to talk, one of our guys should be right there. That needs to happen. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West will be back for our final segment. Hey, folks, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here. Final segment of this episode of the Steadfast and Lower program. We were talking about the deja vu. Republicans can't be that way because the midterm election cycle will be coming up. And we got to make sure that we can expand the majorities that we have in the House and Senate. That means they have to show that they supported this mandate that was given to President Donald Trump and his administration by the people. We talked about looking at the map. Look at that 2024 presidential electoral map broken down by county. It sends a clear message. We've talked about this resistance, this new type of resistance that the left, the Democrats governors safeguarding democracy. That's a joke. Leftists don't care about democracy. They have taken that word and completely, torn it apart. We do have a representative democracy. That's what we elect to go be a voice in our halls of government from the local level all the way up to the federal government level. But we are a constitutional republic. We are a nation of laws, and those laws cannot be violated. They cannot be broken, and those that do have to face the consequences and the ramifications thereof, to include those who try to protect the individuals that have broken our laws. They have to be held responsible and accountable as well. Shadow cabinet, give me a break. That should not be happening. What the Democrats need to do is go back and say, why? Why did we get taken behind the woodshed and given such a monumental loss? A Republican has not won the popular vote and electoral college vote in some 40 years, 4 decades. The onus is on them to say, we messed this up. How can we get better? How can we clean this up? Not look and say, you people are crazy. You people are dumb. You people are dystopian dictators. You people are Hitlers, Nazis, extremists, racists, sexists, homophobes, Islamophobes, xenophobes, dataphobe, disaphobe. No, we're not. We don't want what you were offering. And we saw it in the past administration. Now, I will tell you that what I am pleased about in doing this comparative analysis, if you go back to President Trump's first victory, 2016, I think he was kind of like Robert Redford's character in the movie The Candidate. That famous line at the end of that movie when he is, knows that he has won. I think he won a Senate race. And he turns around, he says, what do we do next? I think what we saw in 2016, Donald Trump, maybe in the deep recesses of his mind, he never thought that he'd get there. He worked hard, and like I said, in 2012, he won 62.9 million votes. Hillary Clinton had 65.7, but he garnered 306 electoral college votes. So he won pretty decisively. Even more so decisively in this election cycle, swept all the battleground states. It's not even refutable. But we did not see a Trump who was immediately ready to pivot and start building a team. And we see that now. And I got to tell you, when you look at, again, the apoplectic meltdown of the left that they're having. Hey, look, if President Trump wanted to go out and pick a skunk to be the Secretary of Interior, he has every right to pick a skunk. Now, the skunk has to go before a Senate hearing for confirmation. Or, as he has proposed, because he has now learned, he's got staff that's savvy, he can ask for recess appointments so we don't have this long, drawn-out process. Because that's what Senator Schumer, that's what they're thinking about. That's what they're trying to develop. That's why we have this shadow cabinet concept that the leftists are coming up with. They're going to think of every single way, shape, form, or fashion they can delay the seating of his cabinet, to delay him getting things going. To me, again, undermining, we want to have a peaceful transition of government. No, you don't. You just aren't going to be very outward about how you're going to try to undermine. But those of us that understand your words and what you're saying, your lexicon, we can see it. We can see what you're trying to do. So I want to just go through some of the appointments that President Trump has made right now and just have a quick discussion about it. Now, I will tell you that, remember back in 2016, inviting Mitt Romney up to Bedminster, New Jersey to talk about him being the Secretary of State. That was just a joke. That was a gimmick. See, we've gotten beyond that now. We know who the chief of staff is going to be. We know who the deputy chief of staff is going to be. We got these individuals been nominated. The only thing that, you got to be careful about pulling people out of the House of Representatives because there's a very tight majority there. We got to get things passed in the House. And remember, with the House, you have to have a special election because that's the people's house. That's where their voice is really heard. The Senate, you can have someone that is appointed by a governor to fill the space for a senator. So I'm not concerned about Marco Rubio being, pulled out of the Senate to go and be the Secretary of State. Matter of fact, I think that Byron Donalds will probably be the one that Governor Ron DeSantis pulls out of the House. Safe district, safe seat. But again, it's someone that could be pulled out of the House to go up and be the next senator from the state of Florida. But there has to be a special election. That district that Byron Donalds has is over in southwest Florida, Naples, Marco Island, that area. It's a safe red area, but still, you're going to have a special election. Michael Waltz, National Security Advisor, great choice. And Marco Rubio is a great choice. Marco Rubio understands, the politics of Latin America. And we've got to be very forthright there. Iran, Hezbollah, you look at what is happening on the border, you look at what is happening in Mexico, we've got to have strong policy in South America because right now that is how the enemies of this country, being it China and whoever, are trying to make that push to come into the United States of America. We got to shut down this Darien Gap trail of illegals. Well, first of all, Tom Homan's going to do that, but we've got to shut down this base camp that they use to come up through there. This is all very purposeful. I think the United Nations is behind it in many ways. But I think Marco Rubio, who sits on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, he has a good understanding. So that's a good pick. Michael Waltz is National Security Advisor, a former Green Beret officer who also served national security in a previous administration. He understands the tactical implementation and the strategic policy level development. He has a good understanding of those three levels: strategic, operational, and tactical. I think he's a great choice to go in there as National Security Advisor. Furthermore, this past summer in June, I jumped with him into Normandy, so he's an airborne brother. Tom Homan, Borders hands down, forget about it. He's going to make it happen. Guy's got a death stare. Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, going to be a hard lift. Pete can do it. It's going to be a hard lift. What's going to be the key for Pete Hegseth? The undersecretaries of defense that are around him are going to have to be a stable of stallions, thoroughbreds, that can make sure that they got his back. That's going to be key. Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence, that's a big middle finger, because remember they put her on the no-fly list or something like that. Now she's going to be in charge of all the intelligence agencies. So high bar. She's got to learn a lot real quick, but I think she can do it. She's, Lieutenant Colonel in the United States, I think National Guard, through the Hawaii National Guard. John Ratcliffe, CIA, great background. He was the previous DNI director, so I think that's a good choice. Matt Gaetz, that's a head scratcher, no doubt about it. Going to be tough. I mean, there are many other states that have some great AGs right here in Texas with Ken Paxton. So that may be an asterisk to look out for. We already talked Susie Wiles, Stephen Miller, Chief of Staff, Deputy Chief of Staff, two very close individuals. It's so important that they are synchronizing and coordinating and protecting the president, and always stay on offense. Always be able to understand what the left is trying to do so that you can get ahead of it in your messaging. Kristi Noem at DHS, I would have rather seen Governor Kristi Noem as Secretary of Interior. But again, she's got a war horse in Tom Homan as the border czar. So that's the one good complementary aspect of her being there. But still, you got TSA, you got Border Patrol, you got ICE, you got cyber, all of these things. So, we'll be looking to see how well she does. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, the Department of Government Efficiency. Let's get it done. We know that there's so much fraud, waste, and abuse all across the federal government. So let's make it happen. Let's get it done. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., HHS. Boy, are people freaking out in big pharma. But make America healthy again. I mean, when you look at the fact that Europe does not allow a lot of our food to be imported in there because it's not healthy, it's got too many, preservatives and additives and stuff. We got to make Americans healthy again. Because a lot of the problems that we have in our health system is because we are not healthy. We don't eat healthy. We don't exercise. We don't do the things proactive that make us better. And so therefore, we end up being dependent upon the medical industrial complex. Can I say that? Chad, can I say that? Is that pretty? Medical industrial complex. Because that's what's going on. I mean, we look in the VA. I mean, instead of really helping and treating our veterans, here's another bag of pills. I mean, I want you to sit down one night and look how many different kind of drugs commercials do you see in one night. I didn't used to see. I mean, maybe you saw, what was that, the headache powder that, what's his name, the race car driver, Goody's headache powder. He used to advertise that. Richard Petty. He used to do Goody's headache powder. Maybe Doan's pills for your back. A little Pepto-Bismol. But now every other commercial is a commercial about this, that, and the other. And then you have to, if you take this medication, it has these ramifications. You might. It's not making us better. It's a placebo. So let's talk about that. And I think that he's the right person to do that. Elise Stefanik, UN ambassador, tough. Anybody can get a couple of Ivy League presidents to be gone. But again, I'm concerned. New York, a little bit different from Florida. You can expect them to try to draw out a special election process up there, but I think she'll be fine. Governor Mike Huckabee, Ambassador to Israel, great choice. Doug Burgum, Secretary of Interior. Like I said, I would have rather seen Kristi Noem be the Secretary of Interior, Doug Burgum be the Secretary of Energy. But look, I'm just a knucklehead sitting here talking to you. And Doug Collins, Secretary of the VA, former representative, a veteran himself, I think he'll do fine. But the point is this. He's building a team, and it's his right to build whatever team. No more Alejandro Mayorkases, no more Jake Sullivans. The left didn't say anything about those boneheads. They had little to no experience, and look what they gave us. We got a country to save, and we've got a republic to keep. And as long as we remain steadfast and loyal, we will do so. God bless.
Before they burn it down.